Hello, my name is Stacey Mankoff, and I am the managing principal of the Mankoff Company, founder of After the Bell events, and creator of the Bellringer. And today is our volume 20 and our first one for 2022. And I'm delighted to have Dr. Merav Ozair here with us to talk about the metaverse and transactions within it and why blockchain is essential. Dr. Ozair is a leading expert globally on blockchain and cryptocurrency with a background as a data scientist and a quant strategist. She has in-depth knowledge and experience in global financial markets and its market microstructure. Currently, she applies her technique to researching the blockchain ecosystem and experimenting with DLT, DeFi, NFTs, and DAOs or DAOs applications across different industries and business use cases. She is a fintech professor at Rutgers Business School and serves as the advisor and researcher at the Rutgers Blockchain and Fintech Collaboratory. She's also the editor-in-chief of the World Scientific Series in FinTech and is a member of the Academic Advisory Board of the International Association for Trusted Blockchain Applications. She has also been interviewed extensively on her subjects of expertise on many media platforms, and we are delighted to welcome her today for our first Bellringer of 2022. Welcome, Merav.
Thank you for having me. I'm delighted to be here.
Terrific. Okay, so first to get started, can you give us a brief definition of what the metaverse is?
Well, it's, to be honest, I mean, defining or metaverse today, it's like defining what is internet in the 70s or 80s. I mean, It was like everyone guessed, what it's going to be. I mean, is it a game? Is it like a 3D game? Like we have with Wallbox or Fortnite? Is that it, or is it just like this Google that the glasses that we'll be wearing, and this is how it's going to happen? Or is it really going to be what was envisioned in the book that basically coined metaverse in Snow Crash, right? And there, I mean, what they envisioned, what was depicted there is like, that we're going to have like a completely virtual world that's going to emulate, our physical world and beyond. And not only that, is that there's going to be interaction between the physical and the virtual world, and everything that's happening in the virtual world will impact the physical world and vice versa. To be honest with you, I do believe that envision that was depicted in that, almost like 30 years ago, will happen, because, I would like everyone to rekindle and go back in time and remember the advertisement, the ad that AT&T had put out like in early 90s. They had a commercial called You Will. And they were talking about voice recognition, and that you can check, what's happening in your home, like outside remotely. Right. They were, envisioning teleconference, what we're doing right now, and all kinds of things, that today, like 20 years after, and maybe 25 years after, we're saying, oh, yeah, of course, right? So I'm thinking to myself, is like, if, everything that we envision can happen. So what AT&T back then, like, in the early 90s, came up with this commercial, and everyone thought, oh, they're crazy. That's never going to happen. Here we are. Everything that, if you go to this commercial, and I ask everyone to go and Google it, it's called You Will. Commercial, and everything they show there is happening right today.
That reminds me of it reminds me of everything that was on Star Trek is happening today. And to me, when you were talking about the metaverse, reminds me of the holodeck, which it's an interactive, which is a wonderful thing. And that goes into virtual reality and augmented reality and all these different type of things. So, it is very prescient to say that these things are going to happen. But in the more immediacy, because obviously, you can talk about things happening many, many years from now, but right now, what opportunities are there with the metaverse, and who's already involved in moving, and embracing this?
I mean, it seems to me that everyone is embracing it. I mean, of course, we know that Facebook, they changed their name to Meta, right?
Right,
So
right.
they definitely in it. So all these big tech companies, whether it's the Google and the Apple and the Microsoft, they're all already invested in that. Microsoft is looking more from the perspective of how it's going to affect our workplace, which makes sense. We're already doing remote. Now it's going to be like a remote type of that it's more inverse, that it has like that you can really like talk to each other as if in person. So that makes sense to me. That's going to happen, and I also think with education, and hopefully I'll have a chance to speak about that. But of course, but outside of those big tech, there are also a lot of brands that already acknowledging that. Like, for example, Adidas, they just in December, they launched an NFT series, and they called it Into the Metaverse.
Okay.
which they're already thinking, okay, you can use all these NFTs in the metaverse, which is the virtual sneakers or whatever. And Nike, even before Adidas, they already in October they trademark with the U.S. official office, the virtual sneakers that they envision, that the avatars are gonna, put this outfit, and they also launched a game in which is called Nike Land, which is in the metaverse, in the Roblox game that they created this game with Nike, and also purchased a company that creates NFTs back in late December, which basically they are already preparing themselves how to create this virtual sneakers, so all these avatars are going to wear that. And not only the sports brands are doing that, also we have luxury brands like Dolce & Gabbana and Gucci and Burberry, all of them are
all
already,
of that, yeah, and
they're all doing
liquor, and all the liquer companies and all of that.
Exactly, they're all understanding, and in fact, there's another, I don't know if it was just a stunt or not, but Kulikulo, the chef, Tom Kulikulo, chef, the celebrity chef, he's also mentioned that he's coming up with NFTs that relates to the restaurant, and also
Virtual food.
I mean, people made fun of that, but in a sense, if you ask me, maybe not the virtual food per se, but maybe the community relationship, the interaction, the experience, connections with all these celebrity chefs. I think that that's what he was, referring to. Of course, you can't eat virtual pizza.
No. But especially in gaming, I mean, when you think of all the food competition shows,
right?
Going into VR is or the metaverse is sort of a no-brainer.
Exactly. So everyone is there. I mean, everyone is trying to connect whatever industry they are and whatever they do in the metaverse, because everyone understands that that's going to be the next big thing. And somehow our virtual world and physical world will be connected. So the question is, how exactly is it going to be connected? Through just community engagement, networking engagement, connections with the celebrities, connections with the brands, enhancing loyalty brand, with the metaverse. I think that, what Nike is doing with this game is kind of brilliant, because, they're already engaging with a younger generation, the kids, getting them into what is Nike. And then, when they adults and they can actually buy Nike, the real thing, they can, get into that. So that makes sense. All of those engagements that we see right now, that seems as if, why are they doing it? But it's all, preparing themselves to when the technology will be there, and we actually going to have this metaverse and then they can really engage in the metaverse and have our avatars, really buying all of this, whatever outfits or I don't know.
So we will be living in the Matrix, basically. Yes.
I guess it's not just that, but now people are thinking about from the hype. Okay, so fashion shows, and there's also at the Central End and another company also is mentioning that they're going to do like fashion week, in the metaverse in March. But other than all this luxury, I mean, think about what Microsoft is envisioning, which is more like our work life, going to be in the metaverse, which makes sense. People are already working remotely, and now it's like our 2D, and 2D is a little bit restrictive, right? It's not exactly, engaging, but the 3Ds, it's as if, you're really sitting in an office, and you can have people, from Singapore interacting with people from Brazil, from the US, from all over the world, sitting like in one office in the metaverse. At the same time.
Yeah. I mean, it is incredible. What I wanted to ask you is how does blockchain fit into all of this?
So I think that's what people already understand, how future of blockchain, everyone already understanding, and you can see it with all the brands, is the NFT aspect, right? So with Dolce & Gabbana, NFTs, the collection, which was sold for almost $6 million. We also see, as I mentioned, Adidas and Nike and other, brands, and even Tom Colicolo is NFT pizza, virtual pizza. So everyone is understanding, the NFT part, which is, and it makes sense. And also, there's a virtual marketplace, real estate marketplace, which is called Decentraland, which has about over 90,000 virtual parcels. And each and every parcel is NFT. And that makes sense because, what is an NFT? NFT is a way to authenticate, right? And we need authentication, because without authentication, no transaction can happen, even in the physical world, right? You have to authenticate. You have to authenticate your identity. You have to get the asset. And if you do not authenticate, right, then ownership cannot transfer from one entity to another entity. So authentication part is very important, and that's what NFT's most crucial power, which is the authentication. And you can basically, with NFTs, you can authenticate not only virtual assets but also physical assets. There's a company called Blockbar, and they basically NFT physical liquor that, the expensive one, the whiskey is, the scotch that goes for $200,000. So the NFT, the physical one, and it has, the authentication, that you got the certificate, of ownership of that physical bottle, even though you don't have it sitting, in your, living room. But that's the idea. So the authentication part, everyone already understands. What they don't understand, they haven't really, got into that, but I'm sure, that will be even more prominent and more essential, for the metaverse to scale, is everything that has to do with DeFi, decentralized finance. So how are you going to actually transact, right? To make transactions in the virtual world that are not just a game. Like nowadays, you use Fortnite and you can buy things, but it's pretend, right? It's in a game, it's not for real. I mean, you're using all kinds of tokens, but these tokens, you can't really use them anywhere else. But if you really want to create virtual world that interacts with the physical, and everything that happens in virtual really is kind of real, other than the place that is virtual, everything else is real, then you have to have some virtual currency, right? I mean, there's no other way to interact in the virtual space without virtual currency. We can't really take our dollars, the paper dollars, and pay.
Right.
Virtual. So this is how DeFi, I think, is going to go to really be utilized in a big way. And everything that we can do, all the transactions that we can do in the physical world, whether it's payment and lending and mortgage and credit, can happen also in the virtual world. For example, I can tell you, you can, if through DeFi, you will be able, let's say, to mortgage your virtual real estate and use this mortgage in the physical world.
Right. Okay.
Because that will be the connection between the virtual and your wallet, your physical wallet will be connected to your virtual wallet, right? And this will be the connection between the virtual and the physical world. So like every asset in the physical can be used in the virtual and vice versa through this wallet, which will be the virtual. And that's, I think this is where DeFi is going to rise to the, to its glory, I think.
Well, I think that's great. And as we know, the Bellringer gives us a little taste of the discussion, and there's so much more to be said. I'm very excited that Merav is going to be on our next New York City panel discussion, which we will hold in real life. And Merav, thank you so much for today's Bellringer. I really learned a lot, and it makes me very excited to see what opportunities are there in the metaverse.
My pleasure. I enjoyed it very much.
Thank you. And thank you all for listening to our Bellringer. We look forward to seeing you at our next one, and also in real life at one of our After the Bell events. Thank you. Be well, be safe. Bye-bye.
Thank you.